Hi everyone, this is Aki with another video on the 15 most common tax forms, and I'm going to talk about the 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation form. And prior to year 2020, the non-employee compensation was actually reported on 1099 miscellaneous in box 7, but for the past 2 years, this has been the new form to report that information. And let me show you how the 1099 NEC form looks. So this is a box by box instruction that I have put together for many forms, and we will just go quickly over that. The 1099 miscellaneous form, this let me just show you where do I have it? Right here. So this is the 1099 miscellaneous. So many people are familiar with that, and in the past that the non-employee compensation would be reported in box 7, but now it has been replaced with something else. So this is the new form. So if you're not an employee, you don't have a W-2 income, you might receive the 1099 NEC. And for 2020, if you were issued at least $600, if you were paid at least $600, the person who's employed you will issue you this form, and you should receive it by January 31st. But some people can receive it later. And on the form you have the information about the payer who paid you that income, basically that compensation that's not employee compensation. And the 10 information, it could be a social security of the person, because it could be a person that's actually paid you for services. And then you have your information, and for our example, this is like an example, I use Jane here with her address. Now if you want more information, because there could be other information here, the box 1 typically has non-employee compensation, and it can include things like fees, commissions, prizes, awards, and other things, also payments to attorneys. So there could be more complicated situation, and so that as a reference you should look at the IRS publication. I have a link right there at the bottom that you can look at. And basically that's that kind of compensation. It's often for independent contractors or gig workers, and often it doesn't have any tax withheld. I mean, even though you have a box here, box 4, that has tax withheld information, but rarely it has any withholdings. It does have some state information, but it's also rarely filled out. There's rarely any withholdings for state, for the non-employees. But this is really important because many people who do have the 1099 NEC have to file Schedule C as self-employed, sole proprietor, and then it's considered like a business. So you are required to file Schedule C, and you have to account for your income and expenses and so on. And it can trigger a higher tax return, basically. So it's important to realize that. Some people, I've seen situations where people have this form and they're not sure what it is. And, they had some kind of agreements with someone that they were not going to issue it, but then they received it and they do have to report it. So you do want to make sure you communicate to people you work with how they're going to account for the compensation they're paying you, so you're not surprised, because you are required to pay income tax on that amount, and it can be substantial, because let's say this is like $15,000 and there's no withholding. That's $15,000 of income that you didn't have any withholding, and maybe this is like a gig job in addition to your standard job for which you had withholding, so you might fall short. And people are always surprised when they have to pay self-employment tax, because obviously here we don't have any Social Security or Medicare withholdings. So when you actually file your taxes and do your tax return, you might have to pay that. So it's important to realize that, and especially if it happened to you 1 year, expect that if you're still working with the same person, they might be issuing in a similar situation. Now, I'm not going to go over the situation like should you be considered an employee or independent contractor or not. It's complicated, and I have some more information, some section in my book actually that talks about it. There's different criteria, if you're an independent in your how you perform the job, when you do the job, if you can have a number of clients and so on. There are many reasons why you can be qualifying as a independent contractor versus an employee. But if someone is having a lot of oversees your everything in your job, you have to show up from 9 to 5, and there could be other reasons how you get paid. Is this regular pay if you can't have other employers when you're working for this person, and so on. So you could be misclassified. You might actually be an employee, but you're being paid as a non-employee. So there are some considerations, and you have to be aware of it. The main thing is that if you do get that form, that it can trigger Schedule C as a self-employed person, and you will have to file and you have to pay self-employment taxes. So be aware for that. You might have to, maybe pay quarterly taxes during the year, so you're not short in paying income tax throughout the year. I hope, this kind of makes you more comfortable, about, what the 1099 NEC is. And thank you so much for watching.